What is going on, everybody? It is Mike Charlip once again coming at you on my website, MikeJC on Wrestling.com. And today I am going to be discussing, breaking down, predicting every match on the upcoming WWE Backlash pay-per-view taking place this weekend. And if you've been living under a rock, then you probably don't know about the slogan of this pay-per-view or the slogan of the match that's been built around this pay-per-view. The greatest wrestling match ever. And that match happens to be a continuation of the feud between Randy Orton and Edge. I'm not going to discuss the match right out the gate right here. I'm just going to discuss this marketing ploy. To start off, I hate this. I think a lot of people hate this, Edge and Randy Orton included, because saying a match before it even happens could quite possibly be, quote unquote, the greatest wrestling match ever is objective. Everybody knows that. Everybody has their own favorite match, their own greatest wrestling match ever. Mine is Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25. I think that match is perfect in every single way possible. But WWE, using this slogan or this marketing ploy for this match, though is stupid in theory because of the reason they're doing it, is also kind of smart because you know why I didn't really think about this at first. It's because people are going to Google greatest wrestling match ever and it's going to send them straight to Backlash 2020. So again, the marketing ploy thing is real. It's there. That's probably why they did it. That's not why Vince McMahon did it, but I'm sure somebody probably pointed that out. And yeah, part of me from the very beginning when this happened, when this was said, when they had Charlie Caruso say this off the cuff, well, not off the cuff, say this randomly after a promo between Edge and Orton where Edge wanted to put Randy Orton behind him because Edge won that really long, excruciating match at WrestleMania that was not good. And having Charlie say that and then continuing to say it over and over and over and over again, like every slogan that WWE uses for a pay-per-view, I hope I never ever hear somebody say the risk is worth the reward ever again, thanks to WWE. But doing this has made everybody criticize that choice and criticize the fact that this match is probably not even going to be in the top 50 of great matches. Because, I mean, yes, both of these guys are good, or at least were good at some point. Randy Orton is still very good. And Edge hasn't had a singles match that is not like a street fight or a last man standing match since coming back in 9 years. So putting that on him just isn't, it's stupid. But again, Vince McMahon, and this was my thinking from the beginning when it was said the first time. My thought was that Vince McMahon was disappointed with the Mania match and decided to put this on the match to make that so that they could make up for it. But still, the fact that it's not even going to be even that close to even like the greatest match in the last 10 years, let alone ever, is just, it's mind-boggling that they would even do that. And I'll discuss the actual match later when I break it, because we're going to get into the entire card, and I'm obviously going to save that one for close to the end. I just wanted to talk about this marketing ploy by WWE, and again, Smart for the sense that they're gonna do like get all the Google searches for it and everything, but stupid in they're not gonna be able to live up to it. And time of recording, I'm recording this after SmackDown. If you saw AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, it's not even going to be better than that match, and that match was amazing. The only problem with that match was the commercials. There was like 4 commercial breaks during that match, and it was just so annoying, like everything in WWE. But regardless, let's talk about the entire card for Backlash. And as of this moment, time of recording, there is no announced pre-show match, but I could see it very likely that they will announce last minute like a SmackDown tag team title match, because for some reason they had Shinsuke and Cesaro beat the New Day, who are the champions, again on SmackDown. WWE continuing their for the last few years, habit of somebody earning a title shot by beating the champions instead of earning it by having a number 1 contenders match. I hate this. I have always hated this. I wish they would stop it. I don't understand why you would give the champion a loss going into a title match. And again, I don't know if this match is going to happen at Backlash or if they're going to save it for after Backlash or whatever. I just figured there's no pre-show match, so I'll just throw it in there. If it does happen, obviously New Day is going to retain, because this is classic WWE booking. Champions lose a match against a contender for no reason. Contender gets a title shot. Contender loses. This is just the way it goes. So yeah, if that match does happen at the pre-show or whatever, again, it might happen on the following SmackDown. We don't know. But either way, if it does happen at Backlash, I'm picking the champions to retain the New Day. So getting into the matches that are announced, as of this moment, there's 7 announced matches. So the first match that I'm going to discuss is going to be Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. And that this feud is so annoying. Ever since they announced the return of Jeff Hardy, for some reason they were doing all of the vignettes for Jeff Hardy's return during Sheamus segments, obviously to set up this feud. But to do that, include his drug use history and alcoholism in the storyline again. Stupid. WWE loves to do this for some reason, and every time they do, it fails miserably every single time. Every single time it fails miserably, and every single time it's bad. And it just needs to stop. And it's no different here. On the last SmackDown before this show, they did a segment where Sheamus wanted Jeff Hardy to get a drug test in the ring with Renee Young standing right there. So they had a small barricade in the ring to make it seem like he was actually urinating in a cup. We all know it was a cup of apple juice, whatever. And they threw in that stupid joke, better to be pissed off than pissed on. Perfect summarization of a WWE written line. And of course, Jeff Hardy threw the cup of quote-unquote urine at Sheamus's face. And then somehow, the doctor still had enough pee somewhere to actually run the test. I don't know how, considering it was all over Sheamus. I don't know the regulations of that. I don't know. But, that Jeff Hardy is drug-free, and the whole segment was pointless. I hated it. I hate this entire storyline. I don't know why they have to continue to do this and continue to just do it badly every single time. But regardless, Jeff Hardy's gonna win this match. I don't see why you would hype his return so much to not give him the win here. I mean, The only way I could see this feud continuing is if there's a DQ or something like that. But Sheamus definitely isn't going to win clean. And I've just hated everything about this. Even the segment a few weeks ago where they made it seem like Jeff was drunk driving and Elias got hurt, even though they used it as a way to write off Elias because he was injured for real before that segment was aired. I hate everything about this feud, and I just want it to be over, and I don't even want to think about it ever again. Jeff Hardy wins. On to the next match. The next match I'm going to discuss is the United States Championship. Apollo Cruz defending against Andrade. Again. And now another WWE trope that we all love. Continuous rematches. Isn't it just great when WWE does these things? Isn't it just great when WWE has somebody lose to somebody so many times, then they finally get the win, then they gotta face them again? WWE likes to do that, just like they like to have their champions lose non-title matches, just like they like to have stupid storylines based on real-life things. There's another WWE trope that I absolutely hate, I absolutely wish would stop, and this is like the 7th time, I lost count, the number of times Apollo Crews has faced Andrade in the last month and a half for this belt. Or not for this belt. It's gotten to the point, they oversaturate these matches to the point where you never want to see them again. I mean, nowhere near the level of Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns, don't get me wrong, that was the worst of them all. That feud went on for like 6 months. And I'm going to reiterate it here. I've gotten to the point where I never want to see Apollo Crews face Andrade ever again. And don't get me wrong, they have a good match every single time, whether it's a DQ or not. But this needs to stop. Why is it so hard for them? Why is it so hard for Vince McMahon to put together a card every week that doesn't include a rematch or doesn't include a champion losing a non-title match? I don't understand why that is so hard. And I don't understand why this keeps happening. If Apollo loses here, you might as well just give up on Apollo, which they have a lot of... Again, another current event that's going on is Paul Heyman no longer running Raw, no longer the executive producer of Raw. He was the advocate, or, the person that was getting behind all of these new people getting opportunities on Raw. Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Zelina, Apollo. It's safe to say that Apollo wouldn't even be getting discussed right now if it wasn't for Paul Heyman. And with Paul Heyman no longer running things on Raw, that is concerning. Because apparently Vince McMahon grew frustrated with Paul Heyman wanting to push new stars. So Vince McMahon's answer to that is just push the old stars. And that has been the problem for way too long. Just another thing that needs to change. And Apollo cannot lose this match. If he loses this match, he loses all credibility. And it's a complete waste of time that he won the belt. And like I said, after he wins this match, he cannot face Andrade again for a very long time. I really want to see Andrade and Angel Garza do more as a tag team. Yes, Andrade has loads of potential as a single star. Yes, Angel Garza is very good also. But they could be a great tag team. Do that. Put them in a tag team. Do more with them. This feud needs to end, and Apollo needs to move on to newer opponents that he's never faced before. And if Apollo loses, then it's pretty much over for him. So moving on to the next match. The next match I'm going to discuss is the Women's Tag Team Championship match. The champions, Bayley and Sasha, defending against Raw's Iconics and SmackDown's Bliss and Cross. This match, I'm intrigued about it because I did not expect Sasha and Bayley to win the tag team titles the way that they did. It was kind of a surprise to a lot of us. And I love this version of Bayley and Sasha. They've been great. Bayley's been great as the SmackDown Women's Champion, and now having her as one of the tag team champions also just gives her more fuel to the fire. And the Iconics came back and lost their first title opportunity by DQ by the same way the same thing I was discussing earlier. Beating the champions in a non-title match, then getting the title shot, and then something happens or they lose the match. They didn't lose the match, they got DQ'd. But because they continued the feud, and WWE did another thing that they always do, which is after you lose a title shot, to get another one, all you have to do is attack the champions, because that makes sense. At the time, Nikki and Alexa were still the champions, and I guess the Iconics were just awarded another shot. But while that was going on, they got into it with Bayley and Sasha, who won the titles, as I said earlier. And really, this is all about Bayley and Sasha. Now, for me, they already announced that Bayley and Sasha are, whoever the tag team champions are going to NXT this coming Wednesday to face Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. And I kind of really want that to be Sasha and Bayley, because that could be a hell of a match. That isn't why I'm picking them to win. I'm picking them to win because I just think it's too soon to start planting the seeds here. Obviously, this is all and again, we say this all the time. It has to be said again. Obviously, this is leading to something where Bayley and Sasha turn on each other and feud for the SmackDown Women's title. But I just think that it's too early to start planting the seeds for that, especially since they didn't go with the Money in a Bank idea, which they should have. I think that they will hold the tag titles for another month and then lose them at Extreme Rules or at a takeover. If there is a takeover in that time. I don't know if there will be. But either way, I think they will hold them for another month. Or better yet, maybe Shotzi and Tegan beat them. I don't know, but I know I don't want any of these other teams in this match to beat them. Especially not the Iconics, who may have gotten a little better in the ring, but just their promos are exactly the same. Their characters are more annoying than ever, and I just don't like this anymore. It's not working for me anymore. I think they need some kind of edge to them. They need to stop losing all the time. When they were champions last year, they never won a match. That was their only win. They won the titles and then lost every match after that. And never defended the titles because there were no tag teams. So I definitely don't want them winning. Bliss and Cross, they just lost the belts after winning them for the second time, which I thought was odd. I thought maybe they would have a longer run, but I don't want to see them get a third reign here. I don't know. I still think it's too early in their story and this tag title reign for Sasha and Bayley to lose them so quickly. I think they need to hold them for at least another month and lose them at Extreme Rules, and then start planting the seeds for SummerSlam, because that would just make sense. Usually long-term booking is better, but it's kind of past the point of long-term booking at this point. So, I mean, you can use that entire month of the SummerSlam to build something, and it's Sasha and Bayley. We all know how good they are. They are as good as they've ever been, especially Bayley, who's, I'll say it again, I said it a million times already, whether it's on here or on Twitter or in writings, this Bayley is the best Bayley. And I love it. I love everything about it. So yeah, I think Bayley and Sasha will hold on to the belts, and the Iconics, like I said, need to change it up. And Alexa and Nikki are doing fine. It's just I don't think it's time for them to win it again after losing them again already. They'll get the belts again down the line. I don't think they're not gonna break up this team for quite a while. So, moving on to the next match. The next match I'm going to discuss is the Raw Women's Championship match. Asuka defending against Nia Jax. Nia Jax is not winning this match. It's pretty simple. It's pretty obvious. This is a placeholder feud. Asuka becoming the champion after winning Money in the Bank, and Becky having to relinquish because of maternity leave. Asuka is too hot right now. Like, she is on fire as far as like character work. Her in-ring work gets better and better every single week. It's unbelievable how good Asuka is, and it's unbelievable how bad Nia Jax is, to the point where I just don't even want her to wrestle anybody anymore, because I don't want her to hurt people. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've said it on other podcasts, I've said it in Twitter, writing, I've said it everywhere. I never want to see Nia Jax ever face Kairi Sane ever again, because every single time Kairi Sane gets in the ring with Nia Jax, she gets hurt. Every single time. And Kairi is too good to get hurt so often. And when the person that causes those injuries is the same person every single time, kinda sensing a pattern there. But we've been sensing a pattern with Nia Jax for a while now. She hurt Bayley before a championship match. She hurt Charlotte that one time that they faced in a singles match. She has hurt everybody at least once, I think. Again, don't quote me on that. That might be an over-exaggeration, but it's always a concern when Nia gets in the ring with somebody. And she uses the excuse that she doesn't know her own strength. Then she needs to learn how to use it the right way. Why is she on TV if she hurts people? I will not accept she's The Rock's relative BS. That means nothing to me. She needs to not hurt people. She needs to know how to do what she's doing and not hurt people. And I don't even want to see her on TV after this match is over. I want her to go away and learn how to wrestle. So yeah, Asuka needs to win this. Obviously, they're building to something with Charlotte. Hopefully, not in Charlotte's favor, but I digress. It's another WWE thing. Charlotte must win. I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, I've heard speculation that Charlotte could be put into this match and win. I hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, I mean, at least they could use it to build to SummerSlam, where Asuka definitely does beat her. But I'd rather Asuka keep the belt and then beat Charlotte at SummerSlam, because that makes more sense. That makes Asuka look better. But, you know, we all know how WWE treats Charlotte. We've actually seen on TV where I think it was the Iconics who called Bliss the Office's favorite blonde. when we all know that that's Charlotte. And that's a problem. But hopefully, and the build to this match between Asuka and Nia has been very stupid. They had Nia do a promo the week after Asuka got the belt for winning Money in the Bank, that we all know what's going to happen when Asuka gets in the ring with Nia, which was a stupid promo because Nia's never beaten Asuka ever. Literally ever. So Nia made herself look dumb by talking. And all of it is just so stupid. Nia saying that just because she's big, she's gonna win has never worked. And that's another thing. WWE's been doing that for a while too. Whether it's in battle royals or singles matches or whatever. Oh, well, you gotta believe that this person's the favorite because look at them. And they never win. So why would you do that here for a title match? It's dumb. And it's insulting our intelligence by continuing to do it. And I just don't understand why WWE, Vince McMahon, can't get out of these stupid tropes. All of these tropes that are going on still to this day. And insulting the intelligence of the people who care about his product. And he continues to do it here. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I've talked about this match for too long. Again, talked about a WWE trope that I hate for too long. Asuka's winning. Nia will be nowhere near the title after this, hopefully. And hopefully Nia will be near nobody who's susceptible to getting hurt. Because that seems to be her thing. Moving on to the next match. The next match... another one that I'm just not looking forward to at all is Braun Strowman defending the WWE Universal Championship in a 1-on-2 handicap match against The Miz and John Morrison. If you couldn't tell, I have zero excitement for this pay-per-view, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. Because that's what we do as wrestling fans. We endure the bad. And this show is full of bad. This title reign has been bad. This storyline has been bad. Braun as champion has not really gone over well. Braun as champion has turned into very corny scripted promos that we heard Roman Reigns doing in 2015. Braun as champion has not been entertaining. And Braun as champion is just not working. And we all know that it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for what we're going through right now. Because Roman Reigns would be the champion, and at least we would have a credible champion who is good at what he does. And Braun is good at being a monster. That's what Braun is good at. Braun is not good at being a smiley babyface that does promos that sound like they were written on a piece of paper and he memorized it. Braun is horrible at that. And this has been worse because what they've been doing with Miz and Morrison has been also really bad. So putting those together did not cancel each other out. Miz and Morrison have been doing these corny things, corny dad joke things, because why not? And it's all been bad. The rapping music videos, the sitting in a surveillance van and pulling pranks on Braun and the interviewer, Kayla Braxton, who got slimed, and that was part of a WWE title storyline. WWE Universal title storyline. Are you kidding me? The same segment, they tore up Braun's car, hit up the windshield or whatever, and then Braun had to flip something over, so he flipped over the surveillance truck. And that was the first sign of the old Braun Strowman that we've seen in a very long time. This is not good. And again, this is filler. We all know this is filler. Because we all know that he's going to end up facing The Fiend at Extreme Rules and hopefully winning. Now, you could argue The Fiend never needed the belt, doesn't need it now. But they definitely need to do something to reestablish him, since he hasn't really had anything. He's away right now because him and his wife had another kid. But he lost the belt to Goldberg, had that match with Cena that wasn't really a match, but it was cool. And then lost to Braun as Bray Wyatt, not The Fiend. And as we all said before, Braun should have... The Fiend shouldn't have lost to Goldberg. Bray Wyatt should have lost to Goldberg. So, now they need to reestablish The Fiend and make it better. And I just... This whole thing with Miz and Morrison and Braun... I got off on a tangent talking about The Fiend, but... Talking about the match, this whole thing with The Fiend, with Braun and The Miz and John Morrison has been really bad. And another trope of WWE is losers getting title shots. Miz and Morrison haven't won anything since WrestleMania. Why are they getting a title shot? What did they do to earn a title shot? Nothing. They did nothing to earn a title shot. They had separate singles matches with Braun Strowman and lost both times. And then John Morrison was like, oh, we're going to face you in a handicap match for the title. Why? What did they do to earn that? Absolutely nothing. So this is another placeholder match, another placeholder title match for the biggest title on SmackDown. It's just so aggravating. Everything on SmackDown is aggravating, and this is one of them. Braun wins. I can't talk about this match anymore. I can't. So moving on to the next match. It's the match we discussed earlier in the opener. We discussed the slogan of the match, but we didn't discuss the match. It's Edge versus Randy Orton in what they're calling a straight-up wrestling match, or as they're billing it, the greatest wrestling match ever. Now, I don't need to get into that again. I spoke about that earlier. Let's talk about the actual feud. The entire feud, coming off of WrestleMania, Edge and Orton were promoted to face each other on Raw. Or it was promoted that Edge was coming to Raw to hunt down the Viper. And Edge's promo that night was, WWE didn't tell me I was doing that, which I found funny. But this whole entire thing just became ridiculous. The concept of the match was actually intriguing, because they were like, oh, since Edge has returned, he hasn't had an actual regular singles match. He hasn't, quote unquote, wrestled since he's been back. He was in a Royal Rumble and he was in a Last Man Standing match. So this is actually a test for him to see if he can still go on a regular basis. And I like that aspect. But the build of it and the way they threw that stupid slogan in didn't really help. And as I said earlier, Randy Orton and Edge apparently hate that slogan and have been making fun of it on social media. Edge has been saying like, oh, I just had the best coffee ever, or I just sung the best lullaby ever to my daughter, or something like that. That I find funny, They're obviously not going to say that on TV. But the aspect of them saying, like, the Edge needs to prove himself in a real match since he's been back is the way that this should have been built. It didn't need to be overshadowed by the match's marketing. With that said, I think they actually are going to try, well, this was recorded, but obviously, I don't know the results or how it went. I think they're actually going to try to do, like, an actual, like, straight up wrestling match, like they've been saying. Collar and elbow tie-ups, side headlocks, blah, blah, like, starting it off like we see most matches start off. And then Randy Orton's going to do something to bring out the Viper. And obviously, that could be anything. That could be a punt to the head, which he doesn't do anymore, but it could happen. It could be a low blow. It could be anything, but I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to actually try to have a wrestling match from the beginning, and then after like a 10-15 minute whatever they do, something's going to happen where Randy Orton one-ups Edge and hits like a low blow or something, or punts Edge or something like that, or a top rope DDT, something that is not what they're promoting. And I think that's how Randy Orton will win the match. Now, I hope that after that they just move on from it, because I don't want to see Edge versus Randy Orton in a trilogy. I want to see Edge face people he's never faced before. I want to see him face Seth Rollins. I want to see him face Aleister Black. I want to see him face AJ Styles, even though he's on SmackDown now. I want to see him face anybody he's never faced before that he came back to get the chance to do, the chance to wrestle. I don't want to see him face Randy Orton anymore. So no matter the result, I want this feud to be over. And I think that Randy Orton is winning this match. But I think they're going to use this as like, oh, well, I was able to do it until Randy Orton stooped to being the Viper. And that's, I guess, fine. It's definitely, as I said at the beginning of this, it's definitely not going to be the greatest wrestling match ever, and it's not even going to be close. It's not even going to be, like I said, the top 50, probably. It definitely won't be better than that AJ versus Bryan match that we just watched on SmackDown, time of recording. But, regardless, I hope that they do something resembling a wrestling match, and it doesn't suck. So moving on to the final match on the card, the main event, the match I expect to be the main event. Bobby Lashley going up against the WWE Champion, Drew McIntyre, for the WWE Championship. I've actually enjoyed this storyline. This is actually one of the few, if not the only, storyline that I actually have enjoyed going into this pay-per-view. They want Bobby Lashley to be a serious contender. They want Bobby Lashley to look like a serious contender. And even though I kind of enjoyed this storyline, it's another trope. Why is Bobby Lashley getting a title shot and Aleister Black isn't, when Aleister Black beat Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania? I kind of don't understand that at all. But the way that they've built this feud, the way they've portrayed Drew since he won the belt has been great. And the way they've kind of been building this, where MVP wanted to get Lashley out of his own head and get Lashley to be serious about being a champion and actually trying to get title shots, when, for the last 7 months or whatever it was, all he was doing was focusing on Lana, which was so stupid. The one thing that I have hated about this storyline has been the Lana involvement, because they're like, oh well, Lana's not happy about how MVP is trying to drive a wedge between those two being together, and Lashley was the one who told Lana he doesn't want her in his corner anymore. That happened before MVP even got in the picture. So to say that MVP is driving a wedge between them is dumb. And it's just unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. The MVP and Lashley pairing works, and I'm fine with it. But I also don't understand why they've been having tag matches and beating the tag team champions for no reason. I don't understand why they've been having tag matches to get Lashley ready for a WWE title match. That doesn't make sense. Why isn't Lashley having singles matches to get ready for a singles championship match? So, even though the storyline itself I've actually enjoyed, the in the middle, the Lana stuff, the Lashley MVP stuff to an extent, not all of it, the tag matches, beating the tag champs for no reason, beating the number one contenders for no reason for the tag champs, all of that has been questionable. And I think that Lashley can have a good showing in this match and still lose. He doesn't have to lose so bad that he gets dropped down to the bottom again. I think that after this match, and everybody's saying that this is to get him ready for Lashley and for Lashley to face Lesnar, and I can't reiterate this enough, that match does not need a belt. Does not need a championship at all. That match can be sold on the match alone. And Lashley does not need to win the belt to get a match with Lesnar. Lashley can lose this match, and it doesn't have to be in a convincing fashion. He can lose, whether it's a roll-up or something, and I would be fine with Drew winning this match via roll-up, and it being like, oh, you needed to do this to beat my guy, but you didn't beat him clean, you didn't knock him out, you didn't kick his face off. That's fine, because then Lashley is not hurt by losing this match. And then you have Lashley get built way back up again by beating jobbers and beating singles guys that aren't doing anything, and get him ready for Lesnar by doing that. And then the night after Extreme Rules, whenever that is in July or whatever, to get ready for SummerSlam, Lashley can come out with MVP or whatever and say that he wants a bigger challenge. He wants Brock Lesnar, and he doesn't need to be the champion to do that at all. Drew is a great champion. Drew is very good. Drew is finally where he's supposed to be, and he needs to stay there, because losing the title now would hurt him a lot. And I don't want to say that he wouldn't be able to recover from it, because this run has been great for him. But losing the title now just would not work. It cannot happen. And Lashley cannot win the belt right now. But like I said, you can keep him strong by doing a weird finish. It could be a roll-up. It could be something. It doesn't have to be a DQ. It doesn't have to be, whatever. It doesn't have to be a count-out. It can be like a roll-up or something. Drew was just a better man. And then maybe down the line after the Lesnar match or whatever, Lashley could get another title shot. I'm fine with that. But he doesn't need the belt now. He doesn't need to get a rematch in July. He just needs to have a good match here, and they can have the Lesnar match at SummerSlam without a belt. So, like I said, Drew needs to win, And that's all I have to say about that. Drew better win. Alright, so that's all the matches, guys. I'm sure they're going to announce something else. I'm surprised that Seth is not on the show, Alistair's not on the show, Kevin Owens is not on the show. I mean, I could totally see a Kevin Owens Angel Garza rematch. If that happens, I could see that on the pre-show. And if that does happen, I think Kevin Owens will get his win back. But yeah, a lot of people are missing from this show, and it just doesn't feel like a pay-per-view. The entire card has questionable storylines, questionable matches that shouldn't even be happening. It kind of feels like an episode of Raw, which has been happening a lot with no crowds. Unfortunately, with what we're all going through right now, with everything going on. So yeah, I usually, when I go into shows not feeling confident about it, I end up being surprised, but from top to bottom, this card just does not look good. And obviously I want it to be, and hopefully I am surprised by hopefully I get surprised by some of the performances. I hope I do. But most of these matches are victims of Vince McMahon tropes that just won't go away, and they really need to. So that's gonna do it for me, guys. Continue to support me, continue to visit the website for more articles, more audio like this. I'll probably continue to do audio for prediction shows. I don't know if I'm going to do audio all the time. Look out for future projects. I'm trying to get some other things off the ground. Some of those things are being held back by other people, so that's why I haven't announced them yet, but they will happen down the line when it's time. But yes, thanks for listening. If you did listen to this all the way through, listen to me complain about this pay-per-view, because that's what I did. I complained. But again, as a wrestling fan, I love wrestling. I want wrestling to flourish in every way possible. I want all companies to flourish. I started watching Impact again because Impact is really getting good recently. I seen some matches here and there. I watched some pay-per-views here and there. So I'm watching Impact again. That's how much I love wrestling. And when Ring of Honor comes back, I want them to do better. New Japan's coming back. I want them to do great. I want everybody to do great. But if it's not great, I'm gonna talk about it. And you don't have to tell me to stop watching if all I'm gonna do is complain. I don't want to stop watching. I'm a wrestling fan. And like I said at the beginning of this, I'm going to endure because I am a wrestling fan. And no matter what, I'm going to talk about it because I love wrestling. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for listening. Like I said, you can follow me on Twitter at MikeJC821. And that's going to do it. Thanks, guys.